Hey Moxie, what's going on? Happy Wednesday. We're going to dive into the pieces that we've got going on today. There are two of them kind of fitting with our standard of practice. The first piece for today is going to be Wald. That's our conditioning piece, not a barbell or a dumbbell in sight. And our other piece for the day is going to be our second barbell piece of the week. It's going to be our hinge focus with some deadlifts and goblet squats. Let's start by talking about the barbell, okay? So there's already a video on Instagram that kind of talks about the barbell as a whole for this week. You can check that out if you want. But for what we've got going on today specifically, it's going to be 4 sets with 90 seconds of rest in between each set. And one set is going to be 12 deadlifts at 185 for guys, 135 for women, 18 goblet squats with whatever dumbbell or kettlebell you have available, and then another 6 deadlifts at that 185 and 135 weight, okay? For this, we're really looking to move through at a pretty solid and smooth pace. We're not trying to necessarily sprint each set, but we want to keep a smooth pace going on the whole, okay? Now, additionally to that, one of the ideas that was brought out in the other video is that when we deadlift, we want to push through our whole foot. And in particular, I think that stands in contrast to pulling up on the bar whenever we stand. I tend to associate any sort of pulling movement, especially when it's from the ground. If I'm pulling the weight up, then my shoulders are what's generating the movement, or my shoulder is what's moving first, right? And I think what that ultimately results in is that my hamstrings, my glutes, my back end up taking a lot more of the load versus it being more of a leg and kind of quad hamstring glute driven movement, right? The pulling movement essentially takes the quads out of it. Whereas, kind of standing in contrast to that, if we push through the ground with our feet, I think whenever I'm setting up for a deadlift, that tends to make this a leg and hip driven movement instead of just kind of this back hip hinging movement, okay? And ultimately what that pushing through the ground is going to accomplish is allow you to access more leg musculature to move the weight more easily, right? That's certainly going to translate. That's certainly going to help you with your deadlifts in the singular piece that we have today, but it's also going to translate well into movements like power snatches, and even our squats, okay? So just something to think about and play with whenever you hit that barbell piece today. Now, the other thing that we have going on today, guys, is called Wald. That's our conditioning for the day. It's going to be a little bit of a different style than what we've done in the past. It is a chipper, but we have a new movement today, the broad jump, okay? So the way the workout's going to work is as follows. We're going to start with 30 broad jumps with a prescribed distance. For men, that's going to be 6 feet. For women, it's going to be 4 feet. Once you finish up those 30 broad jumps, you're going to do a 100-foot bear crawl. Now, if you want to do a handstand walk and you're proficient there, maybe able to hit sets of 30 to 35 feet consistently, maybe you hit a 70-foot handstand walk instead of the bear crawl, but that's entirely up to you. Once you finish up with that bear crawl, we're going to move back to the broad jumps, and we're only going to do 20 this next set, but we're going to increase the distance by 1 foot. So that's going to be 7 feet for guys and 5 feet for women. Once you finish the 20 broad jumps, we have 70 push-ups. This is really kind of the central roadblock, if you will, in this workout. So you're going to take the longest, most likely, of any of the other movements, and we're just going to have to kind of grit through those, 5, 10, 1 or 2, however many reps you can at a time. Then we're going to finish the workout with 10 broad jumps. We're again increasing the distance to 8 feet for guys, 6 feet for women. And then it finishes out entirely with one more 100-foot bear crawl, or for handstand walking, about 70 feet, okay? Now, the one thing that I really want you guys to be focusing on during this workout is your broad jumping mechanics, all right? Jumping mechanics really mimic the Olympic lifts in a lot of respects. Certainly whenever we think about how we set up, most likely with our feet facing forward, knees kind of over ankles, and a slight hinge forward. This is going to be particularly applicable, right, to our broad jump. That's something that's very similar maybe to our hang snatches or our hang cleans, that setup position. And then whenever we jump, right, we're going to have a very similar movement to what happens whenever we do an Olympic lift. In fact, whenever we teach the Olympic lifts frequently, right, we talk about jumping up. Now, the only difference is that we're jumping forward. But I think the most important thing that we can take away from jumping is improving our receiving position, right? Whenever we jump, we don't want to land with our feet turned out to the sides. We don't want to land with a really wide stance. And in fact, for something like a broad jump, especially as you get to the longer ones, doing either one of those things is going to be really challenging, and it's going to make it really hard as well to stabilize in that landing position, all right? So what we want to be looking for here whenever we're doing our broad jumps is we want to set up, right, just like we would for an Olympic lift with feet maybe about hip width apart, knees over ankles, kind of hinged forward. And then whenever we land, we want to essentially mimic that same position, making sure that our whole foot is on the ground. We don't want to be rocking to our toes or falling backwards. And then in addition to being there, we don't want our knees to collapse in, right? We know that's a bad position. So keeping the knees out over the ankles and having that slightly hinged forward position, right? That's going to be where we want to catch it. And as we increase the distance, most likely we're going to catch with our hips progressively lower. I know for me, whenever I'm going for a max distance broad jump, I end up catching in the bottom of a squat. So essentially what I'm trying to get at here is that our broad jump is going to carry over to improving our receiving position in the Olympic lifts. And not only that, but it's just going to improve our ability to generate stability with any movement that we do, like deadlifts, squats, or anything else, okay? So be thinking about that stuff, guys. I hope this helps. Get after those workouts, log your results on HomeWOD, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.